me on the tracks to burn a little brighter now. Something about Roman candles fizzing out, shine a little light on me now. Find a strange fascination with a liquid fixation. Alcohol can thrill me now. It's getting later.
You sounded slightly bored when I talked to you the other day with music. Do you think you've sort of hit the 7-year itch in a way because you've been with Marillion for 7 years?
I don't know. I mean, some people have said. I mean, I don't think it's an itch. I mean, it's not a case of leaving the band. It's more a case of, you know, as time goes on, there's a little bit more time creeps in. You know, a little more spare time, and also there's more avenues start to become open. And one of the most obvious ones was filming. You know, the other one is writing. You know, rather than just lyrics, but you know, something a little bit bigger. And it's, you know, at this moment in time, we're in the middle of writing an album, and you're talking about 7 or 8 months, you know, before we actually go from, you know, beginning to the record in the shops. And you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs going, you know, I'd like to do something else. And it's a very obvious extension for what I've been doing on stage for a long, long time. You know, and that, you know, my performance in particular has always been vaguely theatrical. And it's like lifting that up and put a little bit of amplification on it and moving it into, you know, a straight format without the music. But I've been offered loads of musicals. I mean, about 5 or 6 musicals, and Budgie were really interested to play the old, you know, Budgie, what's his name?
Adam Faith.
No, not the Adam Faith part, it was the other guy, it was Ian McKellen's part.
I'm not sure.
Yes.
Anyway.
Missed on that one, tell you opposite. That's not the cheese piece version. And but the thing was, they were asking for 12 months contracts, which is I can't do. I mean, because of my commitment to the band. And you know, to be honest, the last thing I want to do is start doing, you know, six shows a week with 2 matinees. You know, I mean, that's one of the reasons I was trying to break away from it. So it's trying to find like 2-week shoots and things like that to work in. I mean, because I mean, obviously, I can't move in and take over massive pieces.
But wouldn't you like a sort of complete change? You say, you know, you've got you can't make that commitment because I suppose you've got a commitment to the band as well. Yeah. But wouldn't you like to make a break and do something completely different then? I
mean, it's been thought about, but I mean, I like the band. I mean, I like the output through the band that I do have. I mean, it's I was looking at like within a band unit, especially one like Marillion's, where it's a very sort of democratic procedure regarding writing and things. You use up about 65% or so, you know, your creative output, and you save up this 35 all the time, you know, and it just carries on building. And it gets to the point where either you break into a solo album or you break into another sort of parallel career. And you know, I look on acting as being a parallel career. I mean, I think nowadays especially, I think you've got to remain flexible. You know, there's no point in just channeling, you know, the all eggs in the one basket routine.
But is this a sort of sudden thing that you've just suddenly decided you wanted to act? I mean, how long has this been going on?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, doctor. It's, I mean, when I was a kid, I used to go along to, you know, Saturday afternoons, and it was, you know, taking the characters out off the screen, stuffing them in your imagination, and going down the wasteland and reenacting your own little script. And, you know, the family, it was like every Saturday night, you know, the Saturday afternoon was pictures, Saturday night was movies, and gradually as you get older, movies come on more. And my mum and dad, you know, they knew every Spencer Tracy film and you know, Gary Cooper movies, everything. And it's, you know, as music came more in, I mean, was in Scotland there's more chance of making a break through music than there is through movies. And, you know, I moved into the music side of things and became the singer. But I mean, I've always been aware of, you know, the acting side. I've just never had a chance to work in it because I've been so committed to working with a band, to the band's success.
What did your parents want you to do though? When you're sort of going off to see these matinees, you're not going to come back and say, I want to be an actor, I want to be a singer, and they'll probably say,
oh yeah, I mean we all do that, but it's, you know, and there's the harsh realities of the situation.
Did they push you in any direction?
Not really. I mean, they just wanted to see me in a secure job. I mean, my dad had a garage, so it was, and he was always struggling away. Like every day, he was working about 18, 19 hours a day at one point, doing breakdowns and things. And he said, you know, it was exactly the opposite of how you'd imagine. It's like you're not going into the family business, you know.
But if they want to see you in a secure job, then you go into probably what was the most insecure profession ever. I mean, unless you make it.
But I went into Forestry Commission for 4 years, which was the government.
Which is pretty secure.
Yeah. I mean, you could do anything there and not get fired. And it was after that, the break was when I was 22, and I suddenly went, I've had enough of this. I'm going to be a singer, you know. And it was even when I started, there was a couple of bits, a couple of turns in it where there was. I remember I was going to go for an audition for The Wall at that time. It was just when I joined the band, and I thought if I go for this audition and I get it, you know, then it's going to cause a lot of problems. Did I go for that side or go for the band thing? And the band one seemed the safest in the position I was at that time, you know, 22-year-old without, you know, qualifications.
But do you take risks? I mean, you say that you went
Oh,
for the
yeah.
safest option. I mean, do you like taking risks?
Oh, definitely. I mean that's. I think life gets really boring if you start like sitting on your ass with the laurels on, going, "Hey, am I really great?" It's naff. I mean, again, that's another reason why I want to move into filming. I mean, there's the couple came up. I got offered Rambo 3, which I'm glad we never got. I think I would have come across very hypocritical if been appearing on stage in Rambo 3, being blown away on stage, on camera for about 20 seconds. Hey, woof, you know.
The shortest film ever
Yeah.
made, yeah. Well, who are your film heroes now?
It's sort of like, there are many. I mean, I think Kevin Costner's probably one of my favourite actors at the moment. When I saw Is It No Way Out, I thought it was a brilliant film. And I'm one of the people that love Michael Caine's work, especially, you know, Hallcroft Covenant and things like that. And I loved, and another one was Defence of the Realm with Gabriel Byrne. And he's a great actor.
But what appeals to you about acting? What is sort of special about it that attracts you to it?
It's the same way as music, in the fact that it gives you a chance to act with, you know, out some fantasies as well. I mean, in the fact that, you know, singing, like, you know, when I write lyrics, you develop a character, and on stage you portray that character, and it's exactly the same, except you don't have the musical backing when you're doing the shoots.
I mean, a lot of pop stars do get the opportunity to act, but when they do, then the public take a much more critical look at them, don't they? Because they're noticeable out of.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I found it hard with watching Roger Daltrey the other night. Excuse me, and you know, it's hard to see him as being away from the singer with the Who. But I mean, I'm lucky in that respect because although I'm well known, it's not within the same fields as like the Stings and Bowies and things, who are very much sort of, you know, tabloid page one stuff, whereas I'm more sort of like just by the car ads, and I think it's going to be a lot easier for me, you know, to be accepted within those sort of ranks.
But you said that you're willing to take risks, but are you willing to fail as well? Do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, Marillion, we've taken as many knocks as we have pats in the bag. I mean, it's part of the character build up. It's what makes it fun. You know?
Does it though? I mean, doesn't it? I would have thought that occasionally it must hurt as well.
Oh yeah, but I mean, you know, you don't go reeling away hide yourself and put yourself in seclusion for 3 years. I mean, it's you know, you get out into it again. I mean, it's the same with albums. I mean, you take a knock. I mean, the amount of criticism and things that Marillion have had over the last 5 years, I think, is probably more than most bands have had in a lifetime. But you just keep coming back just through self-confidence and believing that in the end, like, you're going to get it there. You're going to be in it. You're going to be in the right.
I mean, you mentioned about your lyrics and that you're building up a picture of something. I mean, a lot of your lyrics seem to be autobiographical in a way, don't they? So
yeah, but most of them are sort of, you know, they're invested in characters. I mean, an awful lot of them. I mean, it's like third person singular. It's, you know, stuffing them into something. I find it really easy to work on stage with that. Like I said, you know, in the old days when I used to wear makeup and things, used to assemble a character behind the makeup and go out and do really extraordinary things on stage that you would never actually do in sort of on the street or in your local bar or whatever.
But were they extensions of you?
Yeah.
That you wanted to do?
But I mean, that's the same as acting, isn't it? I mean, you know, and as far as, you know, you pull experiences, you know, from your own life and you use them within the character and the script. From
your lyrics, you'd seem that you'd much rather write in a way. I always feel, because they're very strong lyrics. I mean, is that you mentioned earlier? That's one area. Mm-hmm. Have you explored that in any way yet?
Yeah, I mean, I actually saw a program on TV which made me think an awful lot more seriously about writing, especially about the movie side, and the fact that they were saying that, you know, most script writers, you know, unless they were saying that by the time a script goes from the typewriter to the actual, you know, sheets on camera, it's totally changed. And they said that most writers, once they've handed over the script to the director, then they've got nothing at all more to do with the actual film. Which, you know, I'm one of those people that like go, you know, I'd prefer to get more involved. And I thought, well, really, if I'm going to start writing, I've got to start learning all the processes. So, like, you know, you start taking more interest in video, and I've been trying to work my way into Beaconsfield Film School, try and get a small course in there. And it's, again, natural extensions. I mean, really, they are all very much paralleled in a way. And it's a case of just weaving them correctly.
But as you're in a band, there are other members in the band. But so when you write something or you come up with something that you want to do, it can't always be what everyone else wants to do. So do you always want to get your own way?
I work with some very understanding people. It's I think you know. I think it's the same goes for everybody. I mean, there's like Steve Rother, the guitarist. He wants to get more into writing film music. I mean, there comes a point when you talk 7-year itch. I mean, there comes a point where you do have to have some space on your own. You can't carry on doing, you know, Marillion album, Marillion tour, Marillion album, Marillion tour, because it starts to decompose. It becomes negative in the end, you know, because you're sort of tied up with these guys all the time. You need to break away. I mean, it doesn't necessarily. I mean, people always say, they've always got this thing about any frontman in a band that stands out. They go, so when are you going to do the solo album then? You know? And you go, you don't have to break away to do a solo thing. You can do it within the band. The band is like, you know, the house. There's no point of breaking down the house to build a garden shed. You know, it's just carry on, keep the band happy, and as long as you keep yourself happy.
Do you think marriage has changed your perspective on what you want to do?
It's given me a more secure base. I mean, a psychological base. I mean, nowadays I'm not... there's a lot of stupid things that I used to be really bored about when I was, you know, when I was a bachelor. Whereas now, you know, there's... I mean, lyrically it shows, like, for example, last album, there was... Rather than talking about heartbreak all the time, we started dealing with other subjects that interested me. And it's shown even more so in the new one we're writing. You know, it's a bit more political and definitely more sort of socially active.
I mean, there was one political song, was the White Russians.
White Russians, yeah.
What, can you tell me the sort of story behind that?
Well, the story behind that was when I was in Vienna, and this was in, 1986, and there was somebody from the record company took me down, she was showing me about, and she knew the sort of stuff I was interested in, and I was, history's always been, you know, one of the favourites, and she said, "I'll take you down the Jewish quarter." We went down there, and it was frightening. There was swastikas on the wall, and like you're talking 86, and it was like walking into a film set from, like, you know, World War II, and you've got boards over the windows of synagogues to stop people throwing petrol bombs in, and you know they've all been sprayed, and you've got these very sinister guys standing on street corners with Uzis, which were, you know, the local police, but you didn't know who they were guarding, you know. And the streets were very, very empty. I got talking to an American DJ who was working for one of the stations in Vienna. And he said that he had a lot of friends in the Jewish quarter. And he said that during the elections, there was a lot of poison mail was going through and a lot of threats were being made. And he said that he tried to bring it to fore on the station, but the heads of the station wouldn't let him talk about it on the air. And he said that he was resigning, he was moving away. And I went back to the bar and I was like sitting there drinking, and I was so frustrated by it all. I mean, you know, my wife's from West Berlin, you know, and you know, we've discussed a lot of the things that happened in 39, 44 and things, and it was, I found it made me ill, like physically ill, and that's how the song came about, and it's the warning. There was a programme on just the other night on the TV, and they were talking to the children of ex-Nazis, and they were saying that their fathers refused to admit that, you know, what they'd done was wrong, you know. And you're talking about a guy whose father, like, ordered the killing of 200,000 Jews, and he's saying that, you know, we've got to stop it. And there's a girl came out, and she lived just outside Munich, and she said there will always be sadists And she said, we've got to keep them in check. You know, we can't just sit back and, you know, bury their heads in the sand. And she said that she was making sure that her children got involved with like local Turkish and Greek families in the neighbourhood, and they were families who were being persecuted by locals, you know, because of the race. And I find it disgusting that, you know, that things like you know, anti-Semitism still exist. I just find it really sickening, and I decided to bring it up in a lyric.
But do you think that, in a way, that your life is detached from that? You're saying that that was in Vienna and it's happening, but although it happens everywhere, I mean, have you experienced that, say, in Britain, where you live?
Yeah, it's the same. You can find it the same with certain, you know, Indian groups, Caribbean groups, whatever. You can still find it in communities. You can find it where Turks in West Berlin. You can find it in Italy. It's where Yugoslavs and things like that. I mean, it doesn't just apply to the Jewish race. It's just to do with, you know, relationships, human relationships. I mean, what's the point in like pulling out like one certain group? A lot of it when it was the same, like in Germany in the mid-30s. You know, when the nationalism was when Hitler brought in nationalism, and he focused the hatred on the Jewish people, very much the same as, you know, what Thatcher did to the Argentinians during the Falklands, where you switch it through, and people don't think about their own personal problems because all of a sudden they're overtaken by nationalism, and that's I consider one of the most dangerous weapons of all.
But what role do you think that you have in that as a sort of as a musician?
Well, put it this way: a lot of people didn't even know anything about, you know, what was going on in Austria, and that was on the last tour. We found out through talking with fans of the band, talking with people around the band. They didn't even know that was going on, because it was. I mean, they're very small paragraphs in the Daily Telegraph or the Guardian or the Independent, you know, that a lot of people don't check out. But if you become aware of it, you know, it helps.
Yeah. Do you think, though, that you can actually affect a change in any way?
Oh yeah, I mean you can. I mean the classic example. I mean the greatest example of all was Live Aid, you know, and you can do that in smaller ways with things that are closer to us. You know, for example, Ireland. I mean, I reckon that there could be actually changes made in Ireland through the worker groups, through just making people more aware of what's going on. I mean, it's become the magic word of the 80s, awareness.
But, I mean, Live Aid was it's over 3 years ago now.
But it still holds.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's what I was going to say. It's a day that most people can remember in some way. What sticks out in your memory about that day? What do you really remember about it?
I just remember the magic feeling of oneness in that stadium, you know? All of a sudden there was hope, you know? It was positive. And it's the, not spin-offs, but the things that have come from Live Aid, you know, like the Mandela thing. And there was the atmosphere on Mandela Day was very, very similar. And it, you know, you feel that people agree with you, that you're not just standing on your own. Because that's one of the most depressing things. It's one of the reasons why I started writing, because I started to feel that I was on my own. I started to feel that it was only me that was thinking this way, you know? And it was through the frustrations that the pen started to work. And it's like all of a sudden you start finding out there are people that think the same way as you do. And that's an incredible feeling.
In a way, you're in a fortunate position because your frustrations can come out in your lyrics and you can express them in some way. I mean, how do you feel about people that say who are oppressed and can't express their feelings? I mean,
in what way are you talking about?
But the actual people that are affected, say that the Jews that are in Vienna, or black people that are oppressed in South Africa. I mean,
they start to stand up. I mean, you find. I mean, we did a lot of interviews because of that lyric. We did a lot of interviews with Jewish papers, you know, and we were talking about it. Was saying that, you know, that you tend to find more integration in things, you know, because with, for example, I mean, the song was at the Jewish thing. There was, you know, some of the kids, I mean, they suddenly felt that they weren't, you know, on their own. I mean, it was the same applies. They weren't just standing there being oppressed. They weren't the ones just taking it. They suddenly felt they had allies. And when that happens, when you feel you've got friends and, you know, there's the magic that happens there as well.
There was, to go back to the concert thing, there was also the Mandela one recently. Do you think that was, in a sense, had the same positive feeling as Live Aid?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think from a political perspective, reading that the Mandela one was just as important. I mean, in the fact that there was a lot of people sitting about, I mean, discussing a party, but weren't, you know, very sure either exactly what to do or weren't, you know, that sure of all the truths and facts about it. And all of a sudden with Mandela, it was brought to the front and everybody was talking about it. And I think an awful lot of people learned that day. It was what annoyed me about it though was the way that the show was treated, and the fact that a lot of TV companies and things used very fanciful edits, which annoyed me. I mean, rather than let the whole thing go out live, and you know, trusting, you know, they were very, very paranoid.
I think another good thing that not only did the audience find out who Nelson Mandela was, because obviously a lot of the audience didn't know, but also a lot of the artists actually learn as well.
Well, it made me look more into it, because all of a sudden I was on a bill and I knew there was going to be people asking me about it. And I thought the last thing, you know, I'm not going to get cut out, because, you know, a lot of the press, especially tabloid press, if they can find, you know, one chink in the armour, you know, especially something like that, they'll rip it to pieces. And I thought, yeah, I'm not going to let the side down. And I started to study it. And I started reading more, and I started reading a lot of the speeches that he'd made. And, you know, it suddenly became more important to me. You know, it made me more angry, you know, because all of a sudden there was the injustice of it all. You know, apartheid wasn't just the fact that, you know, rugby players can't play in South Africa, whatever. It suddenly became an awful lot bigger. And like I say, the injustice, the inhumanity of it, you know, shocked me. You know, the fact that, you know, just focusing on this one tiny country, the only country that are still holding out. You know? I mean, my attitude's completely changed towards it.
I mean, you talked about that the press always look for a chink in the armour. Do you ever worry about the press invading your private life? I mean, how defensive are you of your own life?
Especially now. I mean, I find it disgusting. I mean, the antics of the Mirror and the Sun, especially, and the Star. I detest that sort of journalism. I mean, they're going to run into trouble because they're putting themselves too high now. You know, it's.
I mean, have you had any sort of direct experience of them being after you in any way?
I've had a couple of nasty ones.
What happened?
Well, one of them, for example, which might seem very insignificant to some people, but it was. I did an interview with the Sun, and we were talking away, and they were asking about, you know, the wife, because they're always interested in the wife. And we're talking about the wife, and they said, "How did you meet?" And I said, "Oh, met in, you know, club in Berlin." And I happened to say, as part of the interview, that she was going out with somebody at the time, you know. Now, quite innocuous. Next thing, press, 2 weeks later. And it's Tamara Novi, or it was Schnell, I think they were still calling it. It was Schnell, because it's the first German word they can think up. Schnell, yeah, I've seen that in a commando book. And it was Tamara Schnell, or whatever, who was married to somebody before. Now, I'm on tour, right? I know nothing about this. And all of a sudden, unbeknownst to me, was my mother reads it. And my mother goes, "She was married before," right? And my mother freaks out, as mothers would do. And I mean, you know, I never knew she was married. She phones up my sister. My sister says, "Don't be daft, it's his son," you know? My sister knows by now. My sister says to my mum, "Phone up my wife," and mum can't do it, she's too scared to ask. And all of a sudden, this big family argument happens, you know, just because some smart-ass journalist in the Sun or editor or whatever decides, because it'll look a little bit better if she was married before, you know? And it's that. I mean, that is a very small, I mean, like I say, you know, most people, a totally insignificant matter. But then you start taking that up a couple of steps, And you look at the, the Elton Johns when it's the fabrication. And we, in the business we're in, we know about so many fabrications of stories. And it was great to see Michael Winner. He was supposed to be starting a campaign against him, and he's been talking about taking legal action. Well, he's got my bloody support. I just find it detestable that you can have these journalists like hounding you, and looking for things, rather than letting something happen and reporting it. They're looking, they're digging, they're actually instigating incidents. I'm very careful. Excuse me. I'm very, very careful. Like if I go to a club, when I said to you, like the last time we met was at the Mandela gig, when you were talking about doing this interview at the party, and I said because I always watch, like if somebody says, "Do you mind if I take a photograph with this blonde girl?" It's a friend of my sister's, and like she's a big fan, And all of a sudden, it's like the photograph's there, and you're with some 13-year-old in a club, and it's very hard to explain to your wife, if it's just an innocent photograph. I mean, you've got to be. They're after to set you up. I mean, they set Elton John up. They've set Freddie Mercury up. I mean, it even comes down to like the fact that you've got road crews and things. I mean, we know about road crews and people that have been around us especially when Kayleigh came out, when we were getting major attention from the press because all of a sudden we had a record at #2, and it was like Marillion were no longer the cult band that was doing 3 Hammies. This is Marillion with a #2 single, and I think it was the Mirror went with a very straight story, interviewed me for 3 hours about the band, which I was quite happily talk about. Then lifted about 3 minutes or so of conversation, which were all based about this girl that I used to go out with, who the song was roughly about. And they lifted that, and the Sun found out about it and said, well, if you're going to do an exclusive, we're going to do the old Slammer. So they were contacting people who used to work for us, and we happened to have very loyal people working for us, and they phoned up and said, look, you're being chased. And they were trying to do the Slam article on it. And it was like Marillion, the sex, drugs and rock and roll story.
How green do you think some of the pop stars who are up and coming now are to that? The ones that are just sort of about to hit it big or just hit it big? Do you think they're aware of what can happen?
I tell you, you become aware very fast. I mean, it was the same. I mean, I used to be very, very open, and I would talk about any subject underneath the sun. And it was all of a sudden, I got hit a couple of times, with misquotes and misrepresentation. And I went, wait a minute. And I got to the stage where I refused to do dailies, I refused to do tabloids. I'll do the major ones, but I won't do the tabloids. Because, I mean, I find it's really funny when you see those bands coming up. I mean, I don't even need to mention the names. And it's like every morning they're in the paper on at least the first 3 pages. And the doorman at the back said, didn't they? Never had a reaction since the Beatles. And they go for this magic tabloid build-up, And it's like they're going, yeah, isn't this great? And then you wait till it goes, are you ready for this? Wendy, I'm home.
When you first joined Marillion, what were your feelings then? Did you think it would last for a long time? Did you look at it as you looked at it as a sort of a band that was going to go forever, not like I'll be in this for a couple of years? I mean, that was the reason why it took so long. I mean, it took me 6 months or so to actually find the rest of the boys. And when we got together, I mean, we knew it was going to work, and it was a long-term thing. I mean, you don't start things like that, if you're thinking, well, how long will it last? You go in as a super confident, arrogant bastard, and you just fight all the way. How has it changed you over the years, do you think? I mean, in terms of what you were like as a kid before joining Marillion, and now what you're like now as a sort of married man?
A lot more confident. I think I'm a lot more I'm a lot stronger than I used to be. And I've learned a lot more experienced than I was, a lot less naive.
Do you think that you, in a way, that you like yourself more because you're under the sort of public eye all the time, that in a way that you have to?
To be honest, I never really bother about it. I mean, like I say, we're not a Duran, we're not a Spandau where, you walk down the street and it's like, oh, it's him. We don't get that. It's like, excuse me, what can I buy you a pint? I mean, it's like that sort of attitude. I mean, I don't wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and go, God, I'm a rock star, preen, I go, Jesus, And it's, I mean, Marillion are a very normal bunch of guys. I mean, I think because of the style of music we play, you know, it isn't that tabloid, you know, massive expose, you know, they're going to be as big as the Beatles. We're never going to be as big as the Beatles. Might be as big as Pink Floyd, but we're never going to be as big as the Beatles. But it's, you know, it's the attitude, it's very down to earth. I mean, we go to pubs, because it's been a slow growth. We're one of the last bands that went through the club circuit, the way it used to be done in the 60s and 70s, where you start off in the pubs and you work your way up and you do the small theatres and then you do the big theatres. We'd done all that. We spent 7 or 8 years getting to this stage. You know, it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't a 12-track demo that was done in a room in Glasgow that was suddenly picked up by a major record company and sells 8 million albums, but it's like, you know, what do we do now? I mean, we came up, we learned it, we sat the exams and we passed them, you know?
You've toured extensively over the years. Do you still enjoy touring?
That's $1 million. Put it this way, on the last tour, I got sick of somebody turning up every day in my hotel room going, this is the tour you've been waiting for all your life, this is the greatest tour, and I'm sitting there with, like this. It was, the last tour was the one I enjoyed the least out of all the tours we've ever done. I mean, I lived for just the 2 hours on stage, you know?
Why? Is it stifling? What's...
Yeah, it's because, I mean, we did 30 months in the Misplaced Childhood tour. The last one was about nearly 10 months. And at the end of it, in January, I contracted this horrific throat virus. And I should have taken 9 weeks off, just gone bang, 9 weeks. And I remember we were coming up to, I think it was Nottingham and Sheffield. And it was the night before, we were doing Sheffield. And I didn't do a sound check because I had to do radios in the afternoon, and I was feeling terrible. I mean, I was like ground down. I mean, I'd been pummeled to death by hammers in the night. And on the way to the gig in the bus to actually do the concert, I started coughing, and I couldn't stop coughing. And on a 15-minute journey from the hotel to the gig, I lost my voice. And I was sitting there and I was drinking lemon. I was doing everything, like, you know, the hot whiskey toddies, anything to try and get this back. And I had to walk out in front of about 3,500 people and say, look, I'm really sorry, I just can't do the gig. I mean, I was gone. And I should have taken 9 weeks off from there, and I didn't. And I went down and I took 3 days off, and I sat, you know, hermit in the house, taking all the treatment. I mean, I couldn't even take antibiotics because they wouldn't have cured this virus. And then we did 3 amps with the audience, and I got through that. And it went again. So I took another 2 days off, and then they said, well, we'll just carry on with the tour. It's, you know, it's bound to go sometime. Yeah, and someone did go. The virus never went, the voice went. And I ended up walking on stage, and I think it was Medina in Italy. And I had to talk my way through the whole gig. I mean, it was done as like, you know, beat poetry, the whole gig. And I punched a window through, headbutting walls, was crying my eyes out.
I mean, you say that
it was horrific.
The thing you were looking forward to, or all you were looking forward to, were the 2 hours on stage. What's so special about being on stage in front of an audience?
It's the release, actually. I was talking to somebody last night about it, and you can actually instigate a trance up there, and it's you know the focusing point. I mean, if you focus on a midpoint in the air, you know, you can actually instigate. You know, it's a bit like REM. You know, it's you lose yourself. I mean, I can hardly remember any gigs. But, you know, you've got a left-hand side of your brain and the right-hand side. The left-hand side's the sort of logical side, and the right-hand is sort of like the more imaginative, you know. And it's as if, you know, the right hand takes about 80% of the credit for being on stage, and the left hand's just saying there, hey, wait a minute, we've got a drum break went wrong now, you know. But the rest just going wild up there, and I love that.
Have you ever thought
just pure expression, you know?
Have you ever thought you might be sort of schizophrenic if you've got in this way?
Yeah, I mean, there was actually a time in about 83, 84 when I was seriously considering myself schizophrenic. But I mean, it's just that it's the same person, you know. It's just certain bits are taken out or just hustled to the side to allow the performance. But it's like a major exorcism up there. I mean, you can absolutely lose yourself. Like, all of a sudden turn around, there's a broken mic stand there, and you put it through a monitor, you know. And It gets a bit crazy and it gets a bit heavy up there, but we keep on going.
It's all rock and roll.
But it gets heavier. I mean, I'm getting older as well. And, you know, a 9-month tour, which, I mean, in the old days, I mean, in the old days in 81, 82, we could stay and party all night and then, I mean, an hour's kip, get on a bus and do a gig, and it was a good gig, and then, you know, carry on like that. Can't do that now. And I've got to, like, you know, it's like, bed, James.
What sort of person do you want to be in, I don't know, 10 or 15 years' time? Do you know? Have you got any sort of, are there any
Happy
role models
person.
for you?
Just a happy person. I just want to be able to, you know, when I'm lying on my deathbed, you know, it's, I want to go, yeah, I've done things, you know. I mean, it'd be so easy just to, like, it's so easy and so secure just to, like, stay in the band, you know, and do the Marillion thing, ding, 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 you know. I'm not that sort of person. I want to do things. I want new challenges. I want to go out and work with other people. I want to be able to sit back and say, yeah, I've done a lot of the things. You know when you've got a bit of paper when you're 16 years old, and you go, I want to do this, and you tick off, you scuba diving, stock car racing. You know these things, that list.
Mm.
I'm working my way through that list quite well at the moment. Picked up my scuba certificate, done the old stock car racing. I've just got to do the parachute jump. I'm scared of heights. Chop the tree down, all that stuff. And acting was one of them, you know. And so was write the novel, you know. Another one was let's be a singer in a rock and roll band.
But do you put a time limit on it? Because you say that you've wanted to act for a long time. You say you wanted to write a novel for a long time. Do you have you set yourself like, I'm going to do this in the next couple of years, or is it just something that you feel like, I want to do this before I die?
Yeah, it's going to be done before I die. Even if it means I'm taking a parachute jump when I'm 62 years old. You know, the day that I die. There he goes. You know. Going, that was a great life.
It's flat, yeah. What do you think that being well known and having money has actually given you in your life? What is the one thing that you think it's given you?
It opens a lot of doors. It gives you the chance to do a lot of things. I mean, for a start, I mean, if I was like if I was like straight off the street and I was having an interview with you about, like, you know, I'd like to be in films, mate, you know? I mean, you go, hey, you know? But the fact is that, you know, I have a certain degree of respect as a singer in a band. Therefore, you know, I do have the chance to meet the right people to work their way in, you know? Also the experience on stage, you know? Also, it's given me a chance to help a lot of people as well, in a way. I mean, I remember I was talking with somebody recently and they were saying that, you know, like, Smith, what do you call him, Smith Morrissey, he tends to talk for the more sort of, the unemployed sort of masses and stuff. We tend to be just a wee bit above that. We're not exactly middle class, but it's more sort of suburban types. And it's like, that's our voice, you know, and I happen to be elected in a way to voice a lot of the frustrations of people, which is a very privileged position and a very responsible position to be in.
But do you think that's just because of your roots in a way, that naturally, in a way, you're going to sort of speak for, say, the type of person that you may have been, or the type of person that you may have turned into if you hadn't been in a band, let's say?
Yeah.
What sort of person would that be, do you think? Would he be happy?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I think he could have been a real problem child, actually. I mean, if I hadn't had any sort of outlets of creativity, I think I would have gone seriously mad. I mean, I would have vented my wrath on one and all. But I got the break, you know, and I'm thankful for the break.
And this might be an unfair question, but what do you think, considering that you're married and you've got other careers and things, what do you think is the most important thing in your life? And let's assume that your wife isn't watching, just in case you don't want to say that.
Oh, God. The most important thing in my life? I don't know, probably my health and my sanity. So, yeah, probably sanity first and foremost. Because without that, there'd be bugger all else, would there? Just be another Jock Looney walking the streets with a wine bottle.
Trying to piece together conversations, trying to find out where to lay the blame. But when it comes right down to it, there's no use trying to pretend. For when it gets right down to it, there's no one here that's left to blame. Blame it on me. You can blame it on me.